everyone. This is a weekly update on my journal. This last week has been an exciting week. Weather's been all over the place. I'm from the Midwest, and today we're anticipating possibly getting blasted with a winter storm. Currently, right now, it is snowing, raining, and I know that sounds weird, but that's essentially what it is. We were supposed to actually get this starting a little bit earlier last night, but when I woke up at 4 o'clock, it was still just raining, and when I woke up at 6:30, it was still just raining, and I just went out to the back and found out we have snow and rain happening right now. So we're anticipating upwards of possibly 5 inches of the snow, and then it's going to keep dropping as the day goes through weather-wise, and wind picking up, and we're going to have such fun weather we may not be moving around town too much tomorrow. Stayed in the house, finished up quite a few journal pages. This is what I've accomplished in this last week, and this one started on basically with the premise that the one day, I don't know how many times I kept saying, so what? What can we do about it? There's nothing we can do, so what about just going on and getting on and forgetting about it? Well, I came home that night, got to thinking about how my responses about saying so what so often, and thought, that's a good title for a page. So I ended up taking that premise and twisting it a little bit, and came up with this page that said so what, but S-E-W instead of so what. And so I knew I had quite a few stamps dealing with sewing laying around and different things, so I thought I'll go from there. I have not done a video or a journal page using pink too much. Turquoise is my color. I love it, but turquoise and pink, as everyone knows, goes well together. And you get purple, so I ended up taking those as being my base ground. And my background colors, which I'm going to zoom in right quick here on a couple of the areas, if you can notice, is the blue and the pink. And basically those were done with watercolor crayons. There are some acrylic portfolio oil pastels as well, the water-based ones on there. And what started this was I am participating in the 21 Secrets training tutorials, if you want to call them training. And there was one of them, and I know I'm going to have to apologize, I can't remember which instruction it was. I watch them, sometimes will sit down and watch 2 or 3 at a time, and I forget who did it. But one of them suggestions was on journaling about whatever's been troubling you, and then after you journal it, you put it on a piece of notebook paper, and then you tear it up, and it cleanses your soul more or less of it. And if you notice very closely here, I'm going to sort of move the camera a little bit and then zoom in. There's a couple areas on this page over here where you can see some journaling, like through here. And also up over here, there's another area here. This is where I ended up writing my story. Basically saying, how many times a day do you say so what and you don't realize you say it, and what made me say it for the week, and things like that. And basically tore those pages up after I did do that. And believe it or not, it did work. I felt a release because I'm like, I could get it out. I didn't have to take it out on anybody. And, it gave me a peace of mind. So on that premise, and once I got my background done, I did my journaling, I sort of had to come up with what I was going to do. So going back with the so what thought, I ended up taking some patterns, which is over here, which is a sewing pattern. There's another piece over here. There's probably about 4 or 5 different layers of papers and paint colors and things like that. And ended up, I had these stamps that were from a sewing stamp set. There's a pair of scissors, there's a tape measure, there's an actual sewing machine, and then over here at the top, and I don't know how much you can see it because that's in brown, is like needles and threads, and there's another needle over here with a thread. And I ended up stamping in these ladies, and each of these ladies have a little different technique done to them. This lady here is stamped onto the page. And then I'm going to zoom up a little bit so you can sort of see her. Hold on a minute. My camera tripod's not working real well today. And over-stamped her. And originally this was stamped on a watercolor sample. Wallpaper sample. I liked it because it was textured filling, and you still can feel the texture, but the coloring just didn't go with the rest of the page. So I ended up taking some turquoise acrylic paint, painting over it, and then because there's purple, when you get the red and the blue together, I put some purple dots on it. And I ended up coloring her face using some crayons, watercolor. Actually, I believe it was just regular colored pencils, and colored her in. And then over on this page is another lady stamped. She stamped onto the page in black ink, and then I over stamped onto a piece of pattern paper. It was a scrapbooking paper. I actually cut her hand and stuff out like that and put her on there. And then in the lower corner here, which I'm going to zoom down and zoom over to you, this is actually a piece of textured paper that someone had sent me. It's pink, but it's textured. It's like almost embossed, but it's a real heavy material. So I stamped that as well. That's another lady that was in that sheet of stamps, but I didn't want to have her face because I don't want that to be the focus of the page. So I just made it look like a dress pattern. And pretty well, that's what I ended up doing. And then I'm going to come in here with a little bit of journaling here so you can still read the journaling so you know what the page is about. And that's sort of what that page is. So I'm going to zoom back out and straighten my camera up, and we're going to go to the next page here. I'm trying a new filming because these books are not easy to film laying flat down. So this is on a pillow. Hopefully this will work. And this page is basically, I have been known to be a doodler. I will sit in a business meeting or at a seminar, and next thing you know, I'm doodling. So actually my previous boss, who's no longer working with us, actually was a big doodler. So we always talked about it, and I always asked her, what were you doodling? Well, there's a whole doodling society out there, and some people call it zendoodling, some call it Zentangle, and some of them just call it doodling. So this is a page that I came up with, and this happened one night when I really could not sleep this last week, which, you know, I have frequent nights like that, and just grabbed the pen up and thought, well, I've been watching a couple of these videos, so I thought I'm going to try some of the techniques, and basically that's what this page is. Just an FYI, I thought it was too plain with just black and white vision, so I ended up, after I got it all done and did all the inking and everything like that, I took some blue, which you can't see here, and some yellow acrylic paints and did the credit card pulling it down, and needless to say, I got a lot of green and look to it, but oh well, there's some blue breaking through it in areas. And just did basically doodled, and once I got to that point when I put the paint over it, it's like it was too much. So I took my baby wipe and ended up pulling all the paint back off with my baby wipe. And you can see there is a little bit of color still over the actual design over here. It's like yellow or green look. It's not all brill white. But once I did that, I lost a lot of the details, so I ended up having to go back over and ink everything back over. Now I use a combination of different ink pens. I used the Pitt Artist acrylic, or Pitt Artist pens. I also use the Sakuras, and I also use the Copic liners. And you do have to sort of play around, because once you put acrylic paint down, you can't always get a good pen color to go over it. And I will have to say that the Pitt Artist pens will go over acrylic paint much easier than any of the other pens will. So you just have to play it by ear. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom over to the second page, and I am going to zoom back out because this page is very busy. If you notice there, you can see some of the blue that I had, that I started with my base color. And really loved that turquoise blue, but you know, as time went on, it, needless to say, just did not show through. You can see some of it in there, so I got a good mixture. Now this page, I couldn't really decide to do, so I went back to the original concept. These are basically a template that is pretty well what most Zentangle artists will use, and it's basically like a quilt block, and you can sort of see there's a lot going on. So I'm going to try to zoom in for each of the patterns for you so you can see them individually. So bear with me while I zoom in, and then I'm going to go over to the top one. As you can see, that one is a very nice, just bars, and then there's dots and triangles on it. The next one to the side of that is just taking flowers and some swirls in the background. The one directly below it is a basket weave pattern. And then this one always, I don't wish I could remember which I saw this from the artist. I'm really bad. I should write things down. I see it and then I forget who did it. But this to me reminds me of the steel cable that they put together and they band together for suspension bridges. So that's what that one. And then this was just starting out with a box shape and putting a triangle in it and doing all the different angles. This reminds me of like the suspension underneath like a set of railroad tracks. Fans, and I think that's how this started because I was having hot flashes one night and ended up having to get up and doodle some to get the hot flash under control. And that's sort of where the fan concept came from. And then I hope this is in focus. This is just a combination of everything. And there's a little paisley in there. There's a little triangle. This is the ooey gooey drip, as you want to say. And this just a sunburst and some stars in here. So that's basically my first page where I actually put it somewhere. I mean, I doodle along the edges of my papers when I'm at these in-services and stuff. But, you know, to actually do a page dedicated to it, since it is part of what I do, that was my first page dedicated strictly to that. So, I'm going to zoom back out, let the camera focus, and then I'm going to flip to the last page.